exploring lakes, rivers, and reservoirs across the country with an unyielding goal to enlighten viewers from a fisheye perspective. Come along and we'll investigate the habitat. Much more than a fishing show. This is an eye-opening aquatic experience. Welcome to Strike King's Hook and Look with Kim Stricker. When it comes to proven fishing lures for bass, it's hard to beat the time-tested versatility of a skirted jig and trailer, not just for numbers, but for consistently producing quality-size fish. Jigs can be dropped vertically to trigger a reaction strike, swam horizontally through cover like a fleeing bluegill, or slowly crawled along the bottom to resemble a vulnerable crayfish. Some jigs include a rattle for a more intrusive approach, while others employ the attributes of subtleness and finesse. Virtually snagless, a jig and trailer can be confidently worked within the densest of cover or effectively presented in an open environment. Utilize these tools more often, and you'll likely find yourself declaring,
"That's a better fish." Ooh, I love it, I love it.
There's a serene sense of stillness this chilly November morn. A flock of geese on wing gently disrupts the silence as a shroud of fog blankets the water's surface. This is the season when most rounded outdoorsmen hunker down in a tree stand. However, the Hook and Look crew of two sets out to launch another angling escapade. For it's a finny foe they pursue, and the satisfaction of documenting another aquatic adventure is what strengthens their spirit and common bond.
Well, even on a cold day, that engine starts right up.
Yeah. And it's nice and quiet. Everything's so quiet out here. It's so still and so calm right now. The fog lifting. Can't even see across the lake.
Let the fishing begin. The fall bonanza. I'll get over here and make that inside turn on the brake. That is a key spot. I just need to catch that first one. That'll get me going. See a lot of the vegetation starting to die. If we find a nice green patch, odds are there'll be a few fish there. Yes. He's not huge by any means, but he's not a bad fish at all. Come on over here, baby. Get my net there a little slow. There we go. Not a bad fish at all. Yes. Fall fishing. That's going to start us off. I mean, it's early this morning. Boy, we can barely see. Fishing very slow. Jig, nice Lastech trailer, which we'll talk about. Awesome. Let's do it again. The one thing when you're fishing in the fall like this is when you do find them, there's going to be more than one. You don't want to drift off and keep fishing along. You want to go back and fish that same area that you catch one, because they'll be grouped up. He's not a giant. Wait a minute, that's not a bad fish either. It's fun, I'll tell you that. surprisingly, they're thunking it. I mean, they're hitting it harder than I thought they would.
Stick around. The hard hits keep on coming when Hook and Look continues.
That's what I do.
Hook and Look is brought to you by Strike King Lure Company, #1 in fishing lures. Humminbird, simply, clearly, better. Vicious Fishing Line, get vicious. And by Boat US Angler. Thanks for joining us. Kim is enjoying a peaceful, foggy morning with his son, Hook and Look videographer, Danny. Let's listen in.
Let's do that again. I'm gonna follow my track back to where I caught those fish. Heck, we just got going here. They're actually cooperating a little more than I thought they would this early.
I like it. I like action. First tape and we got some action going on it.
There you go. That's gotta be so boring for you. When it's a slow fishing day and you gotta hold that camera up. People don't realize the work that's involved with the camera, man.
The slow days aren't the best, but it's still fun being out on the water with you.
Same here. Back at you, bucko.
There you go.
Ridge in the bottom. This lake is just a small, natural, spring-fed lake that has weeds. There's not a lot of wood cover or anything like that. It's populated. There's houses and cottages around it. But it's that weed edge. And in the fall, they move in on the inside turns of the drops of these weed edges. And they group up. You fish slow, you can catch some of the biggest fish. I keep saying that, I'm waiting for the big one, but we just got started. Let's see what we can put together. Fish, fish. It's like a clone. Again, I'm feeling them. They're thunking it. When I get around them, not a giant, but when you don't deer hunt and you're not sitting up in a deer stand, this is a riot. Isn't it, baby? I was really amazed at just how aggressive those fish were when they struck, especially when considering the cold water temperature and how lethargic they were when I brought them to the boat. Keep that hard-hitting thought in your mind. It's clue number 1. That's what I do. See if that clear water, huh? Ooh, that's a decent fish. You can see how cold he is. Now you start fighting. I dragged you through the moss and everything. Okay, pay attention. Did you hear what I just said? I dragged you through the moss and everything. My first perception was that I dragged this fish through the algae that grows along the bottom of the flat we're fishing. You can clearly see the wad of algae I just removed from its mouth. Hold that thought in your mind. It's clue number 2. He still doesn't even know he's hooked. He's cold. Something got him on the other side there. Big old pike or something. But yeah, lots of fun. He wanted that jig.
No question they were hammering that jig. On location, whether it's at home or across the country, when we shoot a show, my dad first has to figure out the fish. But more often than not, the entire picture, the complete story, doesn't become clear to us until we enter the water. It's our observations underwater that usually completes the puzzle. We'll suit up and shed some light on this hard-hitting mystery when Hook and Look returns.
Oh! That cold water is just seeping down the throat right now.
Welcome back to Hook and Look. The dense fog has now given way to a bright sun and blue skies. Kim and Danny Stricker are delighted that they've experienced a fruitful morning so far, but are somewhat puzzled by the severity of each strike.
Oh, we just come off. Man, you know, they're cold. They're not fighting a whole bunch, but when they're biting, they are just killing it.
Where we want to go, Danny, is right along this edge, not where the grass stops. That's the small bottom is. That's the edge that we've been fishing.
Kim and Danny have now entered the water in an effort to shed some light on the hard-hitting mystery.
Oh, yeah, I see it. The weed line get up promptly in. Oh, there's the bass. Man, this bottom content is just so filthy. It just picks up so easily.
As a lake ages, nutrients and sediments accumulate on the bottom, forming a considerable depth of organic sediment. This natural eutrophication process occurs over thousands of years. However, cultural eutrophication can occur in a human generation or two. Human activity can accelerate the chemical enrichment of a lake basin. Nutrients acquired from the leaching of inadequate septic fields, lawn fertilizer runoff, and the use of chemical aquatic weed treatment are all contributing factors which compound the enrichment progression. Extensive weed beds become common throughout the shallow portions because of the availability of nutrients and light, and because the accumulated organic sediments provide the soil for their roots. Eutrophic lakes also produce high numbers of zooplankton and minnows and other small fish that feed on the zooplankton. These small fish, in turn, provide food for the growth of larger fish. Consequently, fishing is often quite good in eutrophic lakes. The high productivity of plankton and benthic organisms in the shallows provide for relatively high numbers of fish with relatively good growth rates.
They're positioned just as I picture them.
As fishermen, we all need to comprehend the general makeup of the body of water we're fishing. In considering today's observation, this includes the bottom composition. Because it wasn't until we began capturing footage of the jig falling and working along this heavily silted bottom that we quickly realized what was likely taking place. The bottom was so heavily silted that the jig was nearly buried. With each lift of the rod tip, a billowing cloud of silt would trail, much like a smoke screen, concealing the jig.
Was that wild or what? I assure you, my perception wasn't that that jig was practically buried in the silt. It's no wonder the bass were striking it so hard. They must have been literally smashing into the bottom where it was puffing, which explains why I removed the bottom moss from that previous fish. Another thing to point out that was advantageous in this instance was the benefit of having a rattle in the jig. It would appear the fish had difficulty visually distinguishing the jig because of the billowing silt, but most likely detected a sense of its precise location by way of sound and vibration. A little bit of coontail. But see that? It's a nice green coontail. There ought to be some fish in that. A lot of the grass is dying, but that coontail is nice and green.
I guess I'm confused. What's the significance of finding the green grass?
The greener the grass, the more oxygen it'll emit. It produces more oxygen, and obviously the fish want to be around that.
That makes sense. I always knew to look for the green grass, just didn't really know why.
I'm going to change presentations. I'm going to take a flipping stick and pitch vertically in these little thicker weed patches. Just like, did I call that or what? Right out of that milfoil. Oh man. Awesome. This is such a ride. 50-pound vicious braid. Come right in here. Boy, he gobbled it too. Gobbled that jig big time. Oh, baby. That's the best place to get him, right there in that cheek. Yes, yes, yes. Loving it, loving it, loving it, loving it, loving it. This never gets old, folks. As those of you that fish know, this does not get old.
Coming up, Kim finally sticks a good one.
That's one we've been waiting for.
This portion of Hook and Look is brought to you by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. Evinrude. And by PADI, the Professional Association of Diving Instructors. PADI is the way the world learns to dive. Welcome back. Kim has hooked up with Evinrude Assistant Product Manager Eric Olson to discuss another Evinrude product enhancement.
One of the things that really is a plus, for especially in the bass side of it, is the fact that we've added nose cone water pickups. And what these do is they virtually will double the water pressure that goes to the engine. Doubling the water pressure obviously allows the engine to run cooler. And if any one of the multi-passages, obviously from weeds that could block those entrances, they get blocked, the others will take over. So we're not going to be in a situation where we're going to have lack of water. And one of the other unique things is that we found in our testing, and that's one of the things we've been doing, ongoing testing, in actual parameters that are going to be used on the circuit, and we've actually taken profiles and running profiles from the guys that are on the circuit. We found that in a slow left-hand turn, when the guys have their jack plates turned way up high, it actually decreased water pressure with the past gear cases. So what we've done, because everybody's needs have changed and evolved over the years, we incorporated the nose cone gear case. We've also had obviously the existing water intakes, kept those, and we found that we were actually providing these guys, and the bass guys especially with the weeds, with exceptional intakes, exceptional water pressure, and therefore obviously more water pressure, cooler running engine, and exactly what you and I and everybody are looking for down the road.
Geese are flying. Ready to head south. Oh. Man, he clobbered it. That's not bad fish either. He clobbered it. Another good, solid 2-pound fish. Ducked it. But where are the big ones? We're still in search for a mouth that big. All right, thanks, baby. Let you go so you grow back up. To prepare my jig, I like to trim my skirt to about 1/4 inch below the hook for a little smaller profile. Then I'll diagonally trim the weed guard a touch. In cold water, I prefer to use a soft, supple Elastec trailer like Denny's Chunk. But during the warmer months of the year, I prefer the added action and vibration of a Rage Tail Chunk to trigger strings. Could very well get a bite right here. Little patch of grass comes out here. There'll be a fish off the side of it. That's a better fish, I think. Feels like a good one. That's a big one. That's a good one. I've been waiting on this one. Look at that fish. Look at that beautiful fish. That's one we've been waiting for. Oh. It took a while. That's why you come out when it's cold. Big old pigs. Remember I said about the size of his mouth being that big? Ah, that's a dandy. Dandy fish. He dunked that thing big time. Awesome. Awesome. I've been waiting on you. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful fish. Water temperature 51 degrees. It was 33 degrees this morning. Foggy. And it's still morning. We got a long day ahead of us here. But this is the kind I'm talking about. Awesome.
That was a great day on the water. Hey, if you guys like what you're seeing on Hook and Look, please come like us on Facebook. On our next episode, we travel the scenic Cherokee National Forest. Our friend, Boat US Angler brand manager Steve Levi, joins us to experience Parksville's revival. Once environmentally overcome, ongoing remedial efforts over the past 2 decades have significantly improved Lake Ocoee's water quality. We encounter schools of spotted bass next week on Hook and Look.
Hook and Look is a Kim Stricker production.